many ideas have you forgotten this year? Because most people forget 50% of new information within an hour and 70% within 24 hours. That means that by this time tomorrow, most of what you thought today will be gone. And if you're not actively capturing your best ideas, you're letting them slip away forever. What's worse is if we don't capture our own ideas, our minds become a storage unit for everyone else's. My name is Misbah, by the way. In 2016, my first podcast landed me my dream job, coaching Fortune 1000 executives and professional athletes. I also have produced shows that have gone on to do over 1 million downloads, and now I write about high agency thinking and skill acquisition on my Habit Chest newsletter, which, by the way, you can grab at mishq.com or in the description below. So anyway, I used to write dozens of ideas down every single day. But you know what? Most of the time, I never looked at them ever again. And when I actually needed them, it was as if those thoughts never existed. And it kills me to think that we all have these amazing ideas that are buried in notebooks or in different notes apps. But when we need them most, we can't find them. So I found myself coming back to this method that I used when I was 14 years old. It's basically a quick 10-second system for capturing, along with a 10-minute practice of reflecting, reviewing, and resurfacing your best ideas. I don't do it as often as I want to, but when I do, it feels like I'm unlocking an archive of my own mind in a good way. It makes me go, why haven't I been doing this all these years? And today I'm breaking it down so you can use it too. Because if you've ever felt that you'll never have a great idea again, this system changes all of that. Because the truth is, you probably have all the ideas you need. You just need a process to access them. We assume our brains will just remember things, but our memory doesn't work that way. Because we have about 6,000 thoughts a day on average. Most ideas aren't lost, they're just buried under distractions, responsibilities, and new thoughts. We also don't realize that the value of an idea isn't always apparent in the moment when you first have it. Some of the best ideas feel random at first, but if you review them over time, you'll see patterns that start to emerge. That's why I use this 5-step system to capture, retrieve, refine, and act on ideas. Because you're not just storing ideas, you're building a vault of knowledge that you can access when you need it. It's worth doing as a daily habit for me, but I find that a problem or project that I'm working on sets the scope for what I'm looking for in this retrieval process. So let's talk about step 1, which is capturing notes as they come. First, we have to redefine what is an idea that's worth capturing in your notes. Because I think most of us have this assumption in our minds that the idea we have needs to be worthy enough to stand in front of Shark Tank, or it needs to come out like Hemingway's writing. And it's a shame because we're losing out on so many gems from missing the moment when it's time to capture. If you have thousands of ideas per year, worst case scenario, some of them are good, most of them are bad, and you have a deeper understanding of yourself and the things that you care about. That to me alone is worth making this a practice. I'm willing to bet that you'd have at least 10 ideas per day every day this month that you could write down if you were willing to follow this concept. The idea worth writing down is really a thought plus the moment of joy from having discovered that thought. When you can articulate a goal clearly that has felt messy for months, your brain gets a little spark. It might not be anything to write home about, no real intent to publish anywhere, just the satisfaction for having caught that thought for a moment. It can be as short as 1 or 2 words if it's enough to take you back to that moment. This is how comedians use set lists to remember their jokes in a certain order on the smallest pieces of paper, sometimes on their hands. I found that most of my notes are captured less than 10 words at a time. That same idea that took 10 seconds to capture might take me 10 hours to manufacture. So it's very critical to capture an idea, even if it doesn't feel fully fleshed out yet. Now, step 2 is the 24-hour reflection. At the end of the day, take 2 to 5 minutes to skim through all the notes that you've accumulated and written down in the past 24 hours. Some ideas will be some will stand out. No pressure to act, just observe what's interesting. This scroll is a very light touch point. You're not overthinking, just filtering. It builds a habit of quick reflection without getting stuck in this perfectionism. Something I'm trying to do more right now is adding to the note when it pops up, but not forcing it if I don't have something to add in that moment. This can be a really satisfying way to build on existing ideas. Step 3 is the 7-day review. Most of us can't remember what we had for lunch a few days ago. In 7 days, if we had 6,000 thoughts a day on average, that means that's 40 42,000 thoughts that are opportunities to capture. If you're capturing about 10 notes a day, that's about 70 notes you'll scroll through daily. I know this sounds like a lot, but I scroll them the same way that I scroll social feeds. A few of them might make me stop for an extra second or two. You'll notice some ideas keep showing up, and that's a sign of something important if you've written down the same thought multiple times over a longer period of time. You'll see connections forming between different notes. Still no pressure to add anything. You're just time traveling back to moments when you felt creative. Step 4 is the 30-day scroll. So once a day, you'll scroll through the past 30 days of notes that you've taken. I like to do this on my computer sometimes instead of just my phone because I can hold down the arrow key and scroll through things much, much quicker. But remember, treat it like a newspaper or an app. Just browse. Some ideas will feel irrelevant, but others will suddenly make sense. A random thought that you had a month ago might be the missing piece to something you're working on today. When you give ideas time to marinate, they can evolve into something far more useful than you could ever imagine. Step 5, long-term retrieval. Every day I'll end this review process or sometimes start it by going back to see what I wrote a year, 2 years, 5 years ago. This doesn't take as long as you think because of how fast you can access things from years ago in your native notes app. It's wild how much past you knew that current you forgot. You'll see ideas that felt small at the time but are now way more relevant. This is how you stack ideas together, turning small fragments into real projects. It's like having a conversation with your past self, and past you was onto something. Now remember that life plans are a good enough reason for you to take notes. This system isn't just about remembering ideas for work, emails, or creative projects. It's about figuring yourself out. If you're the instrument, then figuring out how to play yourself is one of the most important skills you can develop. So much of what you capture in the moment can be about you, not just what you need to get done. What excites you? What drains you? What are you naturally good at? What are the type of patterns that you keep repeating? If you allow this process to happen organically, capturing things as they come, you won't need to spend months or years trying to manufacture the same self-discovery moments over and over. Most of us spend so much time trying to figure out who we are only when there's some crisis that demands it. But if you take notes along the way, you start to see the blueprint for your own thinking, your own strengths, and your own direction. Life is a longer game than most games we play, so let your notes become your cheat codes. If you stick with this for even a couple weeks, this system truly, you'll feel it rewiring your brain. Keep in mind that I'm not perfect and I'll miss days or do these steps out of order. I don't really have trouble capturing ideas. I do that very habitually. I've had to focus on making this system for myself so that I actually review them. The biggest thing I've noticed is that feeling of I'll never have an idea again just begins to fade. You realize your best ideas aren't lost. They're just waiting to be resurfaced. And when you build this system into your life, it's like having an ongoing conversation with yourself across time. Try this for a week and see what ideas come back. Comment below with what you got out of this and how you're going to put it into action. If you found this useful, make sure to drop a comment. I'd love to know. And be sure to sign up for my Habit Chest newsletter for free, where you can get my best ideas on skill acquisition and high agency thinking. That's at mizhq.com, or check out the links in the description below. Thanks again for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next one.